Now, our first guest, and I'm so excited about this, our first guest of the evening is a graduate of Wofford College in South Carolina and former criminal justice professor at Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina. He's working to change the way young black men are viewed and, more importantly, how they view themselves. His weapon of choice, information. He is currently a PhD candidate at the University of Delaware. His research study entitled Contextualizing Black Boys, Use of a Street Identity, Why Black Boys Use Street Life as a Site of Resiliency in High School. A 7-part series you can view on YouTube is an in-depth look into the mind of today's youth as it relates to their fascination and emulation of street life and how it's related to the educational system. This member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated is truly one of the most extraordinary men I have ever met in my life, and he is here today to talk about his life, his research, and his future. Please welcome to the show my great friend, Mr. Soon-to-be Dr. Brian Chad Starks is in the building. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Gail, what an intro. What an intro. I do appreciate that.
Well, welcome to the show, and I want to personally thank you for taking the time to come on the show and share your story.
Of course, I appreciate the opportunity. Shouts out to you and Clark for for having this forum open for folks like me to be able to come share some of my research interests and also share some of the voices that I've come into contact with when I began this research academic journey that I'm on right now. And it's very important that we get some of these voices, we bring them to life and bring them on the front stage, because some folks don't have the opportunity like I've been blessed with to get their voices heard. So I see myself as a conduit of information, but also representing the folks that don't have the opportunity like I do. So that means a lot.
Right, and you know, I mean, and you've heard me often refer to you as the next Martin, Malcolm, you know, the next one to come up. And I want to go back to the day that we met.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I saw you, there was this man, this dark-skinned man. He had street clothes on. He had dreads down to his shoulders. He talked with slang. And my first impression was, well, I'm going to say that on the air, but my first impression was not a positive one, I must say. Like, I actually really feel like you cannot truly judge a book by its cover. I would have never thought in a million years when I saw you that you were a professor in an institution of higher learning or, you know, running a successful bail bonds company. And as intellectual as you are, which, you know, is a good segue into, you know, what you're doing and what your research is all about. Because it is, you know, I think one of the problems that black men face is that first impression based on appearances.
You're exactly right. And well, with me personally, I've always used the element of surprise to confuse folks, not maliciously, but it just sometimes things just fall into your hand because of the way society has put labels on us and definitions and operationalized what exactly a young black man should look like, as well as young black women, young white women, young white men, and other nationalities and ethnicities. But the thing about being young and black in this society in this day, it's tough. It's very tough on the females, not being gender biased here. But a young black male has to deal with the historical analysis of what we represent in society back then, now, and what we will represent in the future. And one of the things that I learned growing up in Columbia, South Carolina, being a product of the dirty, is that I'm responsible for whatever comes out of my mouth. as a young black man. So one thing that I was very, very focused on doing, and I had great teachers, fill up your head before you open your mouth, and the rest is history. It's almost like a Lil Wayne analogy. He's not the best rapper, but what he does is he floods the gate with great work. He continues. When you can do 200 songs in a year, then they're going to be forced to listen to you. I pushed the envelope, and I pushed the envelope through education to force people that I wouldn't have an opportunity to hear my voice to actually listen to me. And I think that's a gift. And that led me into defining and working with young black men that I know that are facing some of the discontent in situations that I've been faced with. So it's not really separate from me, which I think I'm blessed because a lot of people go to work and it's separate from their lives. This is who I am. I'm only following the blueprint that was laid out for me before I got here.
Well, can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and and how you came to be where you are now?
Well, I'm born and raised in Columbia, South Carolina. Proud graduate of Columbia High School, and I love to let folks know that I graduated from high school when every 26 seconds right now in some urban city around this nation, a young black man is being kicked out of school. And I think now with the emergence of technology and the focus on graduate college degrees, that we're forgetting that some young men have not even graduated from high school. We can talk about that later, where they ending up. But I really want to preface this entire thing by saying I'm a high school graduate before we get to the other accolades. After high school, I was fortunate enough I earned a scholarship. I went to play football at a small liberal arts college, predominantly white school in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Worked for the Spartanburg Alcohol and Drug Abuse Commission for about 7 months after that as a drug and alcohol prevention specialist, where I went out to the communities, mostly black, and talked about the effects of alcohol and drugs on you, your community, the family, more like a responsibility type situation. Left there, went back to graduate school, just wasn't happy being on soft money. It was a grant field position. Went back to graduate school at University of South Carolina, earned a master's degree in criminal justice as well as a master's certificate in alcohol and drug studies. And then I opened up I started the first juvenile drug court. I did research as an intern working on the first masters on the type of crimes and the number of crimes committed in 3 counties in the state of South Carolina that were alcohol and drug related for juveniles. They enjoyed the research. I submitted a proposal, started the first juvenile drug court, which offers alcohol and drug defendants options in lieu of going to prison. That worked out pretty well for me. They promised me some money, and they didn't give me the money because the program was a success, and I walked out of the door. I went back to school to finish up one of those certifications, and I started my own bail bonding company in 1999, and I ran that for 6.5 years. And my second year in the business, I was offered an opportunity to be a full-time instructor at Benedict College teaching criminal justice. And that's where the academic track really got started for me in understanding the purpose and the gifts that I've been blessed with and the ones that I was supposed to give away. I fell in love with teaching. There was nothing like the power and the responsibility of standing up in front of young minds, young spirits, young hearts that were expecting me to educate them. It empowered me from a selfish perspective